I'm Nick, and I'm the creative partner and co-founder of Halo.
And I'm Andy, and I'm the art director at Halo.
We've always talked about storytelling as being this integral part of what makes brands tangible. It's the stories that they can tell about themselves, about their customers, about the consumer, about how brands connect with the audience. But storytelling, and actually the worst thing was Stefan Sagmeister then did an entire speech about how storytelling is shit and people should stop saying it. And you're like, oh man, don't say that, Stefan. But because we were ahead of the curve. Because that's at the heart of our brand strategy. So we call them brand stories. And what we're looking for is that innate essence of the brand. Beyond what it actually functionally does, we're looking at the whole idea of purpose, and we're looking at purpose as the way that a brand lives and breathes, is analogous to that of an actual person. So that has that character, so that they can actually build that genuine one-on-one personal relationship between consumer and brand. And you only do that by telling interesting stories, not just about what you sell or what you offer. It's about that bigger and more expressive brand purpose. And for me, if you look at something like Buckham doesn't come from just going, we need a new beer label. Buckham actually exists because we discovered some really interesting things when we started to delve into that brand. And we learnt about how brave it was to start a really traditional brewery in 1978. What we now think of as a brewery, which is pretty much pipe and slippers, standard brand. It's been going for years. That's not it at all. You imagine in 1978 giving up everything and resolutely starting this incredibly traditional real ale brand at a time when no one was doing that. It just wasn't happening. So suddenly you get this feeling that the guys who did that, they're really super brave. They're really daring people. Yeah. And actually they're super creative, and wow, what does it take? What type of person does that? And then you start to learn about the characters which created this brand, and actually once you're into this space, you start to go, well, you can see the brand doesn't even hint. The current brand didn't even hint at that. What we did was create a brand which visually conveyed that idea of creativity and daringness, a slight hint of bravery. The beautiful illustrations that Pedro did for us are there's a sort of an innate daringness to them, which is very different from the market in which they find themselves in. And that's storytelling. It's making sure that those touch points really allow you to connect with the brand. Buzzwords are difficult, aren't they? And our industry is awash with them. And we often use them, but we shouldn't. Sometimes you find yourself talking the design language, and a little bit of you might die.
Every time.
Yeah, just a little bit. We're doing this big pitch, and basically for a couple of weeks, we've been not struggling with the idea. We've had loads of ideas, but we're struggling to sort of make them take that next step. So you have a kind of a good, what looks like a really great core idea, and it's sort of hitting all those points. We had this kind of rule: when you get into advertising, you can do one great ad. First of all, we think you need to be able to do it as a press ad, because you need to be able to tell that story in the simplest, quickest way possible. But then I kind of have this thing that I talk about.
Don't say it.
No, I know, but I kind of want to say it.
You're going to say the
checkout.
Yeah.
Do you not want me to do that?
Well, that's another buzzword.
I'm going to end up to. Is that a buzzword? We have our own buzzword. So if you think about advertising campaigns, if you can get a really great press ad, that's fine. But what's the next one? What's the tacticals? How does it work? So we kind of talk about it as. I talk about it as, okay, if you can keep having ideas for that central idea, if just new stuff just keeps running, I call it going to the ad checkout. At that moment, if an idea is super strong, you can't stop having really good ideas for it. It's literally just what if, and what if we do that, and what if we say that, and we could go here, and this media can be used, and we can approach it in this way. And it is like going to that, you're like, beep, here's another idea, beep, here's another idea. And that's when you know. I know it's ridiculous.
Right. No, you're right. If it's really easy to understand and comprehend the idea, and it's not too convoluted, then broadly speaking, that whatever that main idea is, even if you embellish upon it, you know that it's strong. We all have different skills we can bring to the table, so to speak. You know, it's like you know what good identities look like in terms of actually designing it. That's where we then work around it and kind of change that.
That's you being really tactful. I'm shit at designing identities, but I can see I am brilliant at seeing where an identity can go. I'm really comfortable there, but if you said to me, hey Nick, could you, I did actually work for an agency which specifically did identities only.
Yeah, that's
and you'd have thought some of it would have rubbed off.
Was any of it any good though?
Not anything that I did.
There you go then. Generally in Halo, I think everyone, it sounds really cheesy saying it, but everyone here gets on as well, which I think is really important in terms of how we work together. Especially with us, we just take the piss out of each other all the time. But it works. Because,
everyone's really comfortable.
You know, I think if you've got to be free to express your ideas with someone, you've got to understand them. You've got to know what makes them tick, what annoys them.
Green.
Lots of things annoy Nick. But also how, you know, that then almost kind of breaks down some barriers, which means you can be truly creative with that person, I think.
Yeah,
and that's how it works with everyone.
It's true, it's honesty, isn't it? There is a level of brutal honesty in the studio, and it's really nice. There is no worried. You can be very clear with someone that for you this is not working and why, without them feeling hurt by it. I think.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's always an element of that, isn't there?
There's always an element. I'm the worst for that. I'm the worst for going. It's fine. I've got no ego. What do you mean you don't like that line? It's a brilliant line.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it is.
So I've worked in other places where I've worked, you know, on a pitch, for instance, and you come in on the Tuesday, you work till 3 in the morning, the next day you work until 2, you maybe come in on the weekend and you're working, and then you're in the next day really early. And I don't get that here at all. I've worked late a handful of times, you know, like barely any at all. I think, and I think the reason, you know, the balance here at Halo, maybe it's a slight West Country thing, I don't know, but I think what Nick and Vern try and instill within the agency for me is that it's all about that balance. You're not happy unless you're happy in your life, and if you're coming to work and you're just here all the time and there's no escape from it. I mean, there's no reason to say that, of course, if you're working on a project, it's not always, you know, running in the back of your head and you're always thinking about it, and we're always victims of taking stuff home and kind of working on stuff, you know, and that happens, but that's part of the love for what you do, I think.
Pitching especially, we do work late from time to time. We have the trust thing here, whereas if there's work to be done, take it home. So let's agree what's going to be done overnight. Let's really have a very clear idea of what that parameters are going to be and what we're trying to achieve. Take it home, do it in the comfort of your own home, put your kids to bed. If you've got a couple of hours to do, you don't have to be in the office to do it. That's crazy. So managing that process is really important.
Yeah. Plus we play Mario every lunchtime without fail.
Yeah, we play Mario. We're not playing Mario now, which is going to disappoint a number of people. But screw them.